We've got our chief legal analyst, Khalif Rhodes, here with us this morning. Khalif, when we look at the first 100 days of Trump in office, we knew that there were going to be some judicial, legal things for us to talk about with Trump taking office. No idea that we were going to have this many in the first 100 days. If you were keeping a win-loss column, not that everything has been fully decided on, where do you think the president feels like a lot of these rulings and issues are right now?
Well, where does he feel like they are? I mean, the president is always going to spin everything like it's a win. So let's be clear about that.
Yeah.
President Trump, even if he takes a loss in court, will say, I love the way the court decided. We'll appeal it and move forward. He is the master of the spin. But make no mistake about it, the courts have spoken a number of times in these. Let's look at some of the numbers within these 100 days. Border crossing is down at all-time low, 60 years. That's the significance of how low they are. But what's also low? Federal employment. 75,000 employees took that instant buyout. Thousands have been terminated, reinstalled, terminated again. Not sure. Dow Jones, S&P 500 down 8.5. So there's a number of downs. But what's also up? Executive orders, 137 as of today, 100 plus more than Biden at this time. So there is a lot that's happening. But in the court, most of those executive orders, as you mentioned, have been challenged. 100 plus lawsuits have been brought against these executive orders. In the most recent one, the court said the framers of our Constitution would see this as a shocking abuse of power, who blocked the Trump administration from implementing an executive order targeting law firms. And so you've seen the Trump administration do a number of things within this first 100 days. It's been retaliatory, it's been retribution, but it's also been weaponization. Some of the very things that Trump ran against. When he ran in 23, he said, I am your retribution. So a number of the things that he said, he's actually doing. He's not ducking about it. He said in 23, I'd be your retribution. And now he's going after a number of folks, specifically 100 plus folks that have went after him during the time that he was in office in his original term and then now in his second term.
Khalif, one of the things you talked about there was the kind of power struggle that we see between the executive branch and the judicial branch. We know that birthright citizenship restrictions are coming up. That's coming up May 15th. We know that we're talking about the Liberation Day tariffs, right? Immigration, all these things coming up. Where do you see this going, not just the first 100 days, but let's talk about the next 3 years plus. What is that battle between the executive branch and judicial branch going to look like?
Well, if it was already polarizing times between Democrats and Republicans, the divide between the judicial branch and all three branches, I should say, is extremely divided. And so it only can go further apart. All things rise and fall with leadership. That's John C. Maxwell. I didn't make up that quote, but I think that quote is something that leaders in all, from CEOs to folks that, represent the higher education, they all point to that as if you're trying to lead something, it has to start with your leadership. Right now, leadership is divisive. It is. The president is saying it will be my way or the highway. Either you're going to accept the things that I'm saying or I'm going to make you accept them. I'm not going to use Congress. I'm going to use executive order. And I don't want to waste time waiting for them to decide if they want to follow my lead. I'm going to take the lead. For better or worse, that's what it's going to look like for the next 3 or 4 years. The Supreme Court will make a number of decisions that I think will have some slowing down effect of some of these things. But for the most part, both chambers of House and Senate are Republican. We have a Republican president, and we have a Supreme Court that is in line with allowing the president to do a number of these things. So over the next 3 or 4 years, I think it will be a widening of the gap. And two, there is something called compromise. And two, there is something called bipartisanship. This divide will only increase.
As we dial this down, how do the first 100 days in Trump's administration, how has that affected both North and South Carolinians the most?
I mean, you can look at FEMA. I mean, you can look at the putting restrictions on getting access to federal dollars being contingent or based on some type of action that's needed from the states. And so those types of things, those retaliatory strikes at states that haven't complied with what the administration wants, those are going to be the things that are going to hurt states like us that have dealt with Helene, that will look for dollars to come. I mean, and we saw it even in early on. The rhetoric was coming before Trump took office that FEMA wasn't doing their job. So you have folks going up there to the mountains trying to take the law in their own hands. I mean, this is actually what happened. And so not just the rhetoric, but now is implementation of policy that will directly affect folks in our state. You're going to have folks that are affected not just there, but in school. So the most recent thing, signing the disparate impact and removing the discriminatory acts for K through 12 disciplinary things. that will be affected in our states, both South and North Carolina. Those are the types of things that I think will have a impact instantly on folks. I mean, and then you could talk about tariffs. I mean, the price of goods will go up. They have went up. I mean, if you're shopping on Shein, it's went up 300%. I mean, I'm not on there, but I've seen the numbers. I can see a number of things where it's going to affect you on your day-to-day basis. Normally, you say on the national level, it doesn't affect me locally. Where about your local elections? This is probably one of the first times I can remember when a national action has had an impact on a local level this large.
Khalif, I know that you also spent time as a law professor, so let's go ahead and fast forward right after the Trump administration, however long that may be. How are people going to look back on this and explain the legality of what he has done, what he will try to do? How will people look back on this, and what will be the long-term lasting impact?
Well, this will have generational impact. Let's be clear. Starting with Roe v. Wade decision, that was probably the first thing that would have the largest impact, and that was from his appointments on the Supreme Court. But I think a number of the cases that will come before this Supreme Court that will have a direct impact from Trump's hand picking will make impact not just for my kids, and probably my children's children. That's how far I think this will have a lasting impact. But if we can quickly summarize it, what I can say is President Trump is consistent. He has talked about a number of things during the campaign, made a number of promises, and he has held up with those promises. For better or for worse, he said, I made this promise, I'm going after these law firms. I'm going after these universities. I'm going after individuals that came after me, almost 100 plus folks that he has retaliated against during his time. And I think that will continue because no one is rolling that back in.
All right, Khalif Rhodes, thank you, sir. We'll join you again coming up in our next hour.